So in this video, I wanted to talk about baby tears because so many people send me questions and comments about baby tears, mainly because they just want some more information about them. Because I know, when I was looking into growing baby tears in my tank, I was trying to look for any possible bit of information I could because they kind of seemed a little tricky. Like I wanted to know how to grow that big, huge carpet of baby tears, which I think most people want to, when before they buy baby tears, that's their main reason why they want to buy them. Um, so yeah, baby tears are pretty much easy to grow if you have the right things. They definitely need CO2. I highly recommend that. I noticed that when I tried to grow them in my tank, I think before I added my CO2 system, I bought like a couple pots of baby tears and I tried to grow them in my tank, and yeah, they just weren't successful. They started to turn yellow and the roots kept on turning black and dying. They just really need CO2. Honestly, I really don't know how you could grow them without CO2, because as soon as I added CO2 and I put a new pot of baby tears in there, they just absolutely exploded. They started branching out and growing everywhere. So um, I highly recommend that, because I don't know anybody out there or any other method on how to grow them without CO2. So if you're gonna buy baby tears, make sure you have at least a pressurized CO2 system. I don't really think it would work well with a yeast CO2 system, because there isn't a really constant stream of CO2. With a yeast CO2 system, it's more of like a couple bubbles. It's not like a pressurized CO2 system where you have a ceramic disc hooked up and it's this constant stream of micro bubbles. It's not like that. So you pretty much need that. So if you're using a yeast CO2 system, I wouldn't recommend buying baby tears, because you'll only be disappointed when they start dying, because that's not enough CO2 for them, honestly. People also ask me how they can plant baby tears, and for me, the way that I did it was I just placed a couple rocks on top of my baby tears to anchor them into the substrate, and once the roots grew in, I took the rocks off, and that little patch where the rock was, where it was all flat because the rock was on top of there, the baby tears grew over that, and now you really can't even notice that a rock was even there. So that seems to be the easiest way to do it. I mean, there are several ways you can do it. Like you can cut them up and plant them individually in little tiny patches all over the bottom of your tank. But when I tried that, when I first started getting baby tears, like when I started with my first pot before I had CO2, I tried that, and it really didn't work. It was hard to anchor them into the substrate without completely burying them. And whenever I did get one anchored in there pretty good, it ended up floating out like an hour later. So it's pretty hard to grow them like that when you cut them up. And also, it just kind of ruins that little patch of baby tears that you buy, because if you're not successful with growing several little bunches that you've cut up, I mean, you pretty much have destroyed the little patch already, so you don't have a lot to work with after that. So I recommend just putting the entire pot of baby tears into your tank and putting a couple rocks on top of the patch to anchor them onto the substrate. Don't put like a huge, freaking rock on top of it. Just put, a couple small little pebbles. That'll do. Just a little bit of weight to keep them at the bottom. Um, there are, there are a couple other ways that I've heard of on how to do it as well. You can use toothpicks. I've heard of some people doing that, but I tried that as well and it did not work for me. So pretty much that's the only method I recommend, because that's the only method I've tried and that's the only method that I work, is just using a couple rocks to anchor them to the bottom of the substrate. And the last question I wanted to address is how to grow a carpet of baby tears. There is one very important thing you have to make sure you have, and that is very strong lighting. Baby tears love strong light. If you don't have strong light, baby tears will tend to grow upwards instead of spreading out. They will eventually spread out, but they'll be kind of high, which is not the desired look that we want with baby tears. We want them to be kind of like a carpet of baby tears. We don't want them to be really tall plants. So if you have a high lighting system, baby tears tend to spread out more than, they tend to grow upwards. So if you have a really low lighting system, they'll tend to try to find the light and they'll grow towards that, and they'll just get higher and higher and higher. But like I said, they will eventually spread out. They'll just be really high. You'll probably have to trim them a lot. So I recommend that you have pretty strong lighting. For me, I have two. I have my T5 Aqualight, and then I have my other cheap marine land strip. That seems to be doing the job for now. But I am gonna get another strip of another Aqualight strip to put right next to this one. So my lighting will be a little bit stronger, but what I have now seems to be doing the job, and the baby chairs aren't growing that high, and they are spreading out pretty good. So you don't need like 8 watts per gallon, but I would say maybe a minimum of 2 or 3 watts per gallon would do it for baby tears. So yeah, just keep that in mind whenever you want to grow baby tears in your tank. You just have to have really strong lighting, uh, you know, um, a pressurized CO2 system, and when you anchor them into the substrate, just use a couple rocks, and you should be good to go. They're a great plant, and they look pretty cool once they grow a big carpet. I can't wait till mine uh, get that way. It's gonna look really, really cool. So thanks for watching this video. I really appreciate it. If you have another question about baby tears, send it to me in a message. I'll be happy to help anybody out. But yeah, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you next time.